Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Driven by Josiah podcast. It's been about a 2 year hiatus, and there's several reasons for that. And the style of podcast that I'm going to be doing now is 20 to 30 minutes, questionnaire based from my social media platform. So I basically ask my audience on Instagram, what kind of questions would you want to ask me during my podcast? And then I essentially answer those questions. It allows for really easy, really good, really organic, and really authentic dialogue as if someone was asking me these questions, anyways. So I always found actually that as a host, I'm asking my guests a lot of questions, and the dynamic there is something that I wish was kind of reversed. I prefer being a guest rather than being a host, so this is kind of allowing me to be my own guest. And essentially, I have the questions in front of me, so we're not going to waste any time. I hate long intros on podcasts. I always skip them anyways. So, question number one, where have you been for the last 2 years? Why did you take down the podcast? Well, I didn't take it down. It is still up on the page, but the 2 years that I took off was mostly due to doing Drift Masters 2024. This was a massive undertaking into my life. It took all of my time. You think that going for a weekend into Europe would take you about a week or two. It was actually many, many weeks of preparation, and then the amount of time it took while I was there, and then it really disrupted the business flow, the family flow, and everything else. So essentially, I was gone that entire year. I didn't think I would be, but I was, and I basically started the podcast right before that. So that was the main reason. The other reasons would be just hyper focusing on building my business, building the brand, getting it into a more perpetual motion style of business where it may never be because that's just not how I typically operate, but it's definitely getting there. So, second question, was Drift Masters a distraction or a foundation for your current success? Definitely a foundation. You have to fail. And the most important thing regarding failure isn't that you failed and then that's it. You actually have to make a calculated pivot from that failure in order for that failure to actually be a lesson. There are tons of incidences and cases where people just fail over and over and over again and they don't change anything, they don't try anything different. So, although Drift Masters, I wouldn't consider a complete failure. The relationships that I made, the people that I met, absolutely incredible experience. So I would not change anything regarding that. And I would actually like to go back with slightly more preparation. And again, on the business side, that's got to be flowing a lot more. Number three, how did 2025 become your most productive year? I did say that in a post on social media. So 2025 was extremely productive for me because of the hyper focus on my time, on the investments that I was making. And I actually started two new companies, FDF Industrial and FDF Motorsports, all kind of under the umbrella of FDF Race Shop. My older brother joined our team. He's now part owner in FDF Motorsports. My dad is working with me. I even had my brother in part time, and the focus on family as well, making sure my kids are well taken care of and everything is moving smoothly. They're doing well in school. They're aware of what they're capable of and all these sort of things. I got to be present. I got to include them in everything. We actually competed a lot this year too. Driving was one of my goals, and I drove an absolute ton. I've never driven this much before. We won multiple events. We started the year by winning the Adam LZ World Tour in New Jersey, and we won multiple events after, even in Colorado and DMCC in Quebec. Lots and lots of events, and we ended up finishing third overall in DMCC. The goal was to just drive a lot, and then we ended up finishing top three in the championship. We actually were close to winning the entire thing going into the last round. We were only a couple points off of first, but it didn't end up working out, and that's all documented on YouTube. So there's lots and lots of positives to take away from 2025, and 26 is going to be even better for us. Next question. What are the two new businesses you launched and why? Oh, I already said that. So FDF Motorsports and FDF Industrial. Basically, with the tariffs coming in, FDF Race Shop was feeling the pressure. Now, the tariffs have not really been applied to us because of the Kuzma agreement between the U.S. and Canada, but we do have a steel and aluminum tariff that is being directly applied. So we are prepaying tariffs, losing roughly $200,000 to $250,000 of revenue in all of our sales. That's annually. So really, starting the FDF Industrial was kind of a pivot. It was like we might need to be having some other ideas in order to sustain ourselves. Fortunately, that hasn't been the case yet, but FDF Industrial is still being built up in the background. So basically, taking on local jobs, we have the machines, we have the equipment, we have the people, we have the skill. So why not allow ourselves to go a little more broad in the business department? And it hasn't been something that we've put a ton of energy into, but we have received a few jobs and they have all been successful. So FDF Motorsports is where we actually picked up 3 rush cars. This was the start. And we're going to be renting, selling, and supporting these as a program where this is going to be a long-term goal. FDF Motorsports is going to have driving schools, drifting schools, and we're going to be renting these cars and racing all over the place. They go very hand in hand with FDF Race Shop because we actually need cars to develop products for. We buy them through motorsports, we tear them down and use them in FDF Race Shop so that we can design parts and sell them. And it's just kind of a full circle recycling cars and getting the most out of them because we need to buy the car for FDF Race Shop, but then we can also rent it to people. And while we're renting it to people, that's also testing the products. So it really works well. And I know it's not going to be something we actually just need a racetrack, to be honest. Like you really need to have a large facility, easy access to a racetrack to make all of this work. And currently we have a great relationship with our local track, but ultimately having your own would be the end goal, which I am working towards. Number 6, what is the reality of your current 24-hour schedule? Business, kids, gym, etc. Yeah, so prioritizing sleep, I'm going to bed at 10:30, I would say, and I'm getting up at 5:30. So definitely I should go to bed a bit earlier, to be honest. The business side of things, it's really a all day, every day while I'm sleeping. I'm even thinking and dreaming of ideas while I'm sleeping. That's definitely true, and that's just how your brain works whenever you're an entrepreneur or a business owner. There's no way around that. So I would say it's just 24/7. Like anytime I'm looking at my phone, it's business related. Anytime I'm talking to somebody, it's business related. Other than with my fiance, there's no conversations I have where it's not business related. So there is no balance. That's kind of like the key. If you're obsessed with something or want to become successful, there isn't going to be a balance. I know people try to talk about their work-life balance. It just doesn't exist when you're in this mindset and in this game. Hopefully that answers that question. Number 7, what was the biggest financial loss you paid in 2025 to learn a lesson? Wow, that's a really good question. I didn't proofread these, so biggest financial loss, I don't know. Could be the blowing of the engines and then rebuilding the engines and then just having to pay for them. Basically, what I made my focus around was so much of it was spent on selling yourself as a driver to then get sponsored by companies. And I have a really good core foundation of companies that I really want to stick with and treat well. And then the rest of it, I just want to work on my own stuff and pay for the parts. So when it came to that, we did work with Texas Speed a couple of years ago. And, we're still really working with them, but I'm just happy to send an email, ask for parts, and pay for them. I don't want to be like, I'll make these posts and say this and do this and then give me these for free. There's really no point when the same amount of effort could be put into yourself and then you could just buy the parts. So that's one thing I would say as a recommendation to you guys. Just make it for yourself. Put yourself in a position where you can just buy things. It's significantly better. It's a much better position to be in. So I would say, yeah, blowing the engines and then just rebuilding them. We had to do it 3 times. Same engine though. So the Texas Speed engine was holding well, but the cam bearings kept walking and certain things kept happening. And these are all just LS things. Nothing bad about Texas Speed. Question number 8, why is solo the only way you're willing to do this podcast? Oh, that's another good question. Basically, the difficulty of getting guests, the quality of the audio that you have, and then my location, mostly. Being in Canada, nobody from the US is coming here, but we're like 87% US-based company. We do have a US entity. We are planning big things within the US, but right now, people would have to come to Canada, and it's just too difficult. It doesn't mean that I won't still have guests. I could totally have guests. We're doing ice drifting, and lots of US guys are coming up. I could also just do it with other Canadian people, but there isn't as many of us that are interesting. Definitely a few. I know a lot of them, but It's few and far between. Some of the greatest of the greats, though, are Canadian. So I will say, although it's few and far between and we have a small population, given how large Canada is, we only live within like 100 kilometers or less of the US border. So we're essentially an extension of the US border. And then the further north you go, the less people there are. That's just the truth about Canada. Okay, number 9. How has your definition of success changed since you started the show 3 years ago? The definition is definitely still the same, but success definitely resides. It's just different for everybody. Success for somebody could be, it depends on what your goals are. So, like I just was making a point on my social media pages, I'm making like 2,200 US per month on my social media, but the revenue is not my goal. So people were commenting, why is your revenue so low given you have 23 million views per month? Well, it isn't my goal. So I'm using songs in the backgrounds of a lot of the videos, which gains views. So that is profit sharing with the company. So I guess what I'm trying to say, and I should probably say it in a much shorter way, success for me has always been how much are you at peace with whatever you're doing? I'm not going to say happiness because happiness means in order to have relative happiness, you have to have a certain amount of sadness as well. And we're always going to be happy or sad. That isn't the goal. The goal for me would be how much peace do you have? How sustainable is your life? How long can you do this for? And my current position, I could do this forever. I'm very happy. I said happy. I'm very at peace with everything that I'm doing. And although it comes with highs and lows, serious highs and lows, motivation could be killed, dopamine can be depleted, everything can be going wrong, but I'm still, I have that underlying motivation to continue to keep going on. So my success for me is still the same. Find something that's sustainable. Sustainability is something that you should always measure. Even like, especially if you apply to someone that's, let's say, addicted to something, how sustainable is that addiction? If the answer is it's very sustainable, then whatever. But typically, and more often than not, it isn't sustainable. A lot of things that are habits that we have are not sustainable. That's kind of how I look at everything in life. So I try to say that most of the things I'm doing, if not all of them, are all sustainable. That's kind of my measuring stick. And question number 10, what is the non-negotiable goal for the rest of 2026? Man, I'm going to have to think about that one. Non-negotiable goal. I need to have a building plan, a building, like a physical building. I need to have a plan in place for this happening for FTF Race Shop. This is something that we've needed for years. You have to prove a concept for a long period of time in order to say, I'm going to invest millions into something that it's going to take me years to pay off. And I know that it's going to work. And I believe that we have done that with FTF Race Shop and everything's supporting. We have the best team. We have the best guys. The business is not quite perpetual motion, but I already know it's going to be there. And I'm going to invest the rest of my life into this. So going for a building plan, getting something in place is my goal for 2026. Before the end of this year, we will have some kind of a set plan for this. That is the goal. There's many other goals, but I'm going to say that's the non-negotiable. And that's okay. So 10 questions. I wanted to keep these around 15, 20, 25 minutes, depending on how they go. So that's a great first episode. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to be doing this probably on a bi-weekly basis. I really got to pace myself. I really got to be realistic. I'm also doing seminars, online training for CAD design. I'm also doing just a bunch of things, so I can't overstep my own commitments. Thank you guys for watching again. I'm glad I'm back into this, and hopefully this format works for everybody. That's it for this one. See you next time.